Hi everyone, this is Niall from windowsnoob.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about OSD, deploying an OS over the CMG via bootable media, right? And that's a new feature that was available, released with update 2010 of Configuration Manager or Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And actually that's what you're seeing right here in front of you. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Just as a start to this video, and then I'll try and explain how I put it all together, how I got it to work, show you the different things that you have to enable and stuff, point you to the blog where I've documented it hopefully quite well, and that's pretty much it. So this video is going to just sort of gloss over the feature, give you a deeper look at it, maybe, and hopefully clarify some questions that you have. And if not, please post those questions below. Thanks. So here's the task sequence I created in the blog post. I'm going to kick it off. And if I press F8 and start CM trace, you can actually see that it's pulling the content. It'll be pulling the content shortly. Formatting the drive. And then it should start applying the operating system, and it is. And as you can see, I saw it there, it's pulling content from cloud attached CMG, which is my CMG in the cloud, right? So we'll let this go ahead and do its thing, just to prove to you that it actually works. And while it's doing its thing, I want to point you to this, and this is Twitter. And there you can see my username. It's NC Brady, Niall Christopher Brady. Please follow me on Twitter if you're using Twitter, because then you will see when I blog stuff like this. And in fact, it's pinned currently to my Twitter page. And if you click on that link, it will bring you to windowsnoob.com, to the actual blog post, which explains the steps that you need to follow in order to get this to work. Okay? So we'll start with step one, and we'll have a look at the task sequence I created, and I'll just point out the interesting things in there. All right, so let's do that. All right, let's go to the task sequence, which is here. And this is the task sequence which is deploying that VM in the background. And basically, it is a bare bones generic task sequence. Pretty much the only thing I've added to it is Firefox right here. That's it, an application. Apart from that, I did make some minor customizations which are clearly laid out in the blog post. Right? So I'll point them out again here, and I'll explain why. So the first thing you need to be really careful of is the Apply Windows Settings step. Make sure that you click on that step and flip it from the default of randomly generate the local administrator password, which is this setting here, flip it to enable the account and specify the local administrator password. The reason for that is because the scenario we're talking about here is a scenario, a break and fix scenario at some remote location where they don't have access to an on-premise DP. They don't even have access to the domain controller. Therefore, we're going to be joining a work group, right? So keep that in mind. In order to join a work group, you're going to need to be able to log on to the computer afterwards. So enable that local administrator password and specify a password. All right? Enable the account, I should say, and specify a local admin password. The next thing we need to remember is that we're joining a workgroup, not a domain. This is going to be a workgroup joined computer with a fully functional configuration manager client agent that uses token-based authentication. That config manager client agent will be fully functional, so you can deploy whatever you want to it after that point, right? So keep that in mind. And that can solve your problem of the fact that the computer is not domain joined. You can deploy some always on VPN PowerShell script to join the domain, use some magic, whatever. That's up to you to figure out. And if you have a good idea and you want to share it with people, then, you know, ping me on Twitter and I'll help you with that. The next thing to keep in mind is the enable BitLocker step. Why do we need to keep it in mind? Well, you might possibly want to even just disable the step entirely because it's not going to function properly. The reason why is when it gets to this part here, and these are the default settings I'll point out, when it gets to this step, it's going to fail this step totally. The reason why is because it can't escrow the key to Active Directory domain services. And the reason for that is because it can't reach Active Directory because it's joining a workgroup. So you have a few choices. You can disable the step, delete it. You can set it to do not create a recovery key, or the easiest thing of all, just continue on error. Okay, then it will just continue on past that and install your apps and do whatever else. You might also want to install device drivers, but if you do, keep in mind that when stuff is being downloaded from the CMG, particularly drivers, it's a slow process. Now here it's downloading a WIM from the CMG, and you can see it's not flying through that process. If I was doing an on-prem version of the same thing, it would be nearly completed by now. Okay, so let's go back to our task sequence. Where was it? Here. Right, so that's it really. Keep in mind the apply Windows settings, the apply network settings, device drivers. If you're going to use them, zip them up, use some type of modern management because they will slow it down severely, okay? Because everything is being pulled, remember, from your CMG, your cloud management gateway. And in order to pull that, you're going to need internet access on the client computer. So we've got all that in place. Now, what else do we have to keep in mind? Actually, is this, let's go back to this VM here. So this VM was imaged earlier, and this one you can see it is joined to a work group, and there's the work group that we specified in the blog post. And what else is interesting about this one? Not a whole lot, except it's got the config manager client agent, as you can see, and it's still currently internet because it's not connected to the on-premise infrastructure at all. And as you can see, it's got all actions available to it because this computer, which is connected via the cloud management gateway, it is fully capable of doing whatever you deploy to it. So if you deploy stuff to it, it's going to get it. That's great. You can manage it. Okay, and that's the whole purpose of this. Deploying computers, deploying the OS via the CMG and using bootable media. And if we look at the settings of this actual virtual machine, you will see that here is the boot media. It's the ISO that I created after creating the task sequence. And that ISO is important because it contains a CMG certificate which we created as part of the process. Now I've covered it all in my blog post, the CMG certificate creation, which is tricky for some, is for a PKI environment, obviously. So I'm testing this only in a PKI environment. And if you're worried about PKI, don't be. There's plenty of guides on windowsnoob.com guiding you through setting it up from start to finish, and you'll be an expert in no time. So if you look at step 6 of my blog post, which covers how to do this OS over CMG, let's see, where is it? Step 6. Down here, you'll see that I talk about PKI certificate modifications, right? So as per the documentation, if you use PKI-based certificate media for the boot media, configure it for SHA-256, like so. Now, if you've set up your PKI in your lab, according to my guides, it will be 256. If yours shows up as SHA-1, then I've news for you. SHA-1 is dead. It's time to move on to a more secure PKI infrastructure. There are ways to convert the hash algorithm from SHA-1 to SHA-256. Just Google it. So let's assume that you're on SHA-256. What about the next part? Well, the next part with creating the certificate needed for this communication with the CMG, at least for this release, is it needs to have this as the cryptographic provider. So why don't we look at that process and look how I did it, right? I'll try and remember all the steps. We'll go through it. So Let's get my issuing CA, which is here, and log on to that one. And I'll guide you through it. I already have it working now, so I don't need to create another one, but I'm just going to show you the process, right? So here's my PKI infrastructure. It is all healthy. There are 2 warnings. There's nothing to worry about. It's just saying these 2 are expiring tomorrow, right? But that's nothing to worry about. They'll be automatically renewed. So if we were to right-click on the Enterprise PKI and choose Manage Templates, you will see that these are the templates in use in my lab infrastructure. And the one that is of interest for the OS via CMG scenario is this one here called Workstation Authentication. So in order to get this done, what you need to do is in your certificate templates on the issuing CA, right-click on Workstation Authentication and choose Duplicate Template, right? Now pay attention to this part. So on the general screen, give it a suitable name. Let's call it CMG. Let's call it Cloud Management Gateway Certificate template. Okay, and we'll make the validity 3 years. Cloud Management Gateway Certificate Template. And if we look at the request handling tab, this is very important. It must be exportable. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to create the boot media with this certificate. So click there. Under request handling, make sure allow private key to be exported is selected. Next, move over to cryptography. Right, that's a mouthful. And then down here, you'll see Microsoft Enhanced RSA and AES Cryptographic Provider. That's the one Microsoft wants you to select. So select it. All right, and this is how I did it. You can move it up and you can deselect the other one. So now we have Microsoft Enhanced RSA and AES Cryptographic Provider selected. We have request handling checked. We've changed the name to something useful. What else? We have to modify security, remove domain computers. We don't need them. And we need to add the SCCM server group that is going to import the certificate later. So they're going to need read and they're going to need enroll. We do apply and OK. And now we can see the Cloud Management Gateway Certificate template is created, right? So that's the first part. Now go back to managing our CA. Oops. Manage the CA. Here. And here's our CA. And if we go down to certificate templates, you will see these ones that have been created already. This is the one I'm using for the CMG at the moment. These are other ones I've imported. Now, we want to see our new certificate template that we just duplicated and created. So let's go here and choose New and select Certificate Template to Issue. And if you scroll down a little bit, there is the certificate template that you just modified. So here it is, Cloud Management Gateway Certificate Template. It's for client authentication. All right, that's the one. Select that. And now you see it right there. Okay, so this is the one that we need. So now that's that part of the process done. Let's go back to Config Manager. And that's here. And on the Config Manager server, we're going to need to import that certificate. And I'll show you why. We're going to import it so we can export it. Sounds kind of funny, but that's the way it is. So open up certlm.msc, and that brings you here. Then choose Personal Certificates. And at the moment, you can see the certificates that are on this server. This is the one I'm using currently for client authentication with the CMG. And as you can see, it's SHA-256. And there's the name used for OSD via CMG using boot medium. All right, so this is the one that's currently there. But if I was to right-click on certificates, choose all tasks, and choose request new certificate, click next at this and then next again, and you will see a list of the certificate templates available to you. And guess what? There's the one you just created, right? So select that one and click enroll. And it's that hard. Okay, so let's see, where is it now? Let's refresh. We should see it here somewhere. Am I blind? Yes, I am blind. I don't see it. Here it is. That's the one. Okay, perfect. So there's the new certificate which we created, and we have to do it like so that you can believe me. See that? Cloud Management Gateway Certificate Template. And you could change the friendly name here if you wanted. I don't really care, but if you want to, go ahead and change it. Just right click on the properties and give it a friendly name. Okay, so what we do want to do, however, is we want to export it, right? So this is where we're going to need it for the next step. Okay, so I chose to export. We choose yes to export and leave it like so. Export all extended properties, choose next, give it a password. That's important. Give it a password. Click next again, and then specify the file name. So I'm going to stick it on the desktop, and we could call it new CMG cert, whatever. And that's it. It's that hard. We've exported it. So if we look on the desktop, you will see that there is my CMG cert, my OSD cert for the DPs, and my new CMG cert. But what use is this new CMG cert? Well, I'll show you. So if we go to our task sequence and close that, and go to Config Manager, and we're in task sequences, and up here in the ribbon, if you were to select Create Task Sequence Media, right? And this is how you create the boot media for this actual functionality. Select bootable media as the type, right? And click Next. And next we select site-based media. Click Next again, and now it's going to ask you for the media file. So I'm going to type in c:/temp/new CMG media.iso. Okay? And you can give it a new label if you want. And I'm going to give it a super password. They recommend that you put in a strong password. I would also recommend the same, but hey, this is a video. And here is the important part. You see here, import PKI certificate. That's the certificate we just created and exported. So let's go get that. Remember, we called it new CMG cert. There it is. We also gave it a password, so let's assign that password and click Next. And now we can choose our boot image. It's going to be in this boot media, and the distribution point, that's the distribution point of this on-premise infrastructure, not the CMG. It's the next part where you select your CMG as the management point. See that? So for management point, select your CMG. Okay, so here's my CMG, and I'm selecting that. Click OK. Choose Next. And I think we're nearly done. Yep, you can configure them if you want. They're optional. And off it goes. And it's going to create some media. It'll be about, I don't know, 500 megs in size. And it'll dump it in the temp folder. So while it's doing that, why don't we have a look at this one? Look at that. It's still downloading. So the cloud, I guess, is a little bit on the slow side today. Yeah. Occasionally I've seen this. I've seen this in the past where it fails to download part of the file and then it will re-download it. So don't get too worried about this when it's downloading the WIM. If it fails to download some content, it will re-download it. So it's pretty good with the error correction, I've noticed. And, you know, I live at home with 3 boys, and we're all using the internet at the same time. It's only a 100 megabit line. I'm sure they love it when I'm doing OSD via CMG because I'm grabbing so much bandwidth. But c'est la vie, we all have to use it. So it's going a little bit slow. So what was I going to show you? I was going to show you the possibility, why don't we try to test the new media we just created and see, does it work? I mean, we followed pretty much all the steps that are in my guide. Why don't we try the media and see, does it work for us? Okay, I think that would be an interesting test. I mean, the fact that this is a video probably means it will fail. So let's just power this one off. But before we do, let's just verify the the network. So this one is connected to this network here, which is internet. Right, perfect. Let's power it off. Doing that. And while it's doing that, we need to connect to this config manager infrastructure. So can I flip mode here? Let's do this. And I'm going to pull that file out using magic. Well, not magic, using enhanced mode. So here's our new CMG boot media. And as I said, it's around 500 megs. So we'll copy that. We'll dump it here on the desktop. So that should be relatively quick. And if the demo gods are aligned with us today, we should see this successfully boot a virtual machine and start pulling content down from a CMG, policy and content. All right. And that really is what this is all about. It's imaging computers that are broken remotely. It's fantastic. It's really a great feature. I love it. Love it. I love it. I love seeing this stuff coming from Microsoft. Okay, so let's go to our VM, which is this one. And we're going to configure the settings because I now have the ISO. And here's the ISO. Let's change that one and point it to the new one. Very original name. Apply. Change it to boot from DVD. Doing that. And let's see what's going to happen. Is it going to fail miserably because I left something out, or is it going to work? So I'm pressing a key. Did I press a key in time? Let's see. Yep, I did. Okay. So here's the moments of truth. Will it work? It's retrieving the policy from the CMG, would you believe? And of course, no test. Of course. Yeah, right. So let's go back. We can fix this where it's not the end of the world. It is live. So let's go back here and do a quick fix on this one so that we can get a happy ending to our video, right? So I think it's this one here. I'm just going to delete it. Delete it, delete it, and that will delete all PXE records of that one. So if the gods are aligned this time, it's going to see that there is policy available for this computer. Let's give it a go. Nope. Try again. Nope. Okay. Last time, and then we'll reboot. Nope. Okay. Hate that. All right. Let's turn it off, and we turn it on again. Okay. So here it goes. Right. Let's pretend this was the first time I booted it after mounting the ISO. So off it goes. It's booting. That part is successful. Right. Here we are. Put in the super secret password, very strong password. Pressing enter, it should retrieve policy now. Off it goes, retrieving policy. And while it's doing that, because this time it's going to work, press F8, we'll do CM trace, X, :/Windows, /temp, /SMSTSlog, /SMSTSlog, right? And in here, we should see that it's talking to the cloud. And it is, right? Because there's my CMG. So let's see, did it get policy? Still at it. Still getting policy. Come on, you can do it. Let's see, is our other one still continuing? Well, that one is downloading policy. It is. It's at 17%, so it's moving along. This one is still retrieving policy. It would be nice now if I had a gigabit internet at home. That would be great. Gigabit up, gigabit down. Yep. So that's one of the downsides of OSD via CMG. It is going to be slower unless you've got a really, really fat pipe to the internet. And I don't. It's only 100 megabit, up and down. And it's in use by me and three boys, 3 teenagers. Well, 2 teenagers and 1 grown man, young man. Okay, how's this going? Yeah, that looks like it's pulling down policy. A few errors there. Assuming not encoded. They're interesting. Let's see, how's it going? Oh yes, look at this. This is what I call perfection. So this is basically, yeah, you're seeing it in action. If we select this one, this is the task sequence that I created in the blog post for OSD via the CMG. So select that one, click next, off it goes. And basically it's just going to format the hard drive, pull down Windows 10 2004 or 20H2, can't remember which one. And then it's going to install Windows in a workgroup. It's going to create a local administrator called administrator user, and it's going to use the password you specified in the task sequence. And finally, it will install whatever applications and drivers that you specify in the task sequence. And that's it. At the end of the day, you have a fully managed Windows 10 device that you can do whatever you want with. And you did it all via boot media and the CMG. It's absolutely brilliant. I love this new feature. So there it goes. This one almost seems faster than the other one, which is ironic because I started it afterwards. But anyway, I think that's pretty much me done talking about the feature. I hope that you give it a try. Give me your feedback both to the blog post and to this video. You can reach me on Twitter. Remember, my Twitter handle is ncbrady. Let's see, can we find that again? Just to remind you, here I am. And I do respond to tweets. So, you know, give me a shout out, whatever. Retweet this one, I would appreciate it. And follow me on Twitter and subscribe to my videos. That would be just awesome. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, well, don't like it, but tell me what you didn't like about it and what you'd like to see more of. I'd appreciate it. Okay, thanks for watching. See ya.